Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. Today, I'm sitting down with Lamar Romero, who is the founder of Hire Dragons. So excited to be sitting down having some conversation about business, entrepreneurship, this crazy journey that many of us are on. So excited to have you here. First and foremost, I want to say thank you. Why don't we just start with a little bit of background? Lamar, share a little bit about 10,000 foot view, who you are, and tell us about Hire Dragons.
Sure. My name is Lamar Romero. I'm the CEO and founder of Hire Dragons. We started out as a mom and pop brand activation agency about 11 years ago, and we treated it mostly like a mom and pop shop for about 7 years, and then we've been scaling quite significantly over the last three. So basically, I know the entrepreneur journey all the way from startup bootstrap to will hopefully be a nice financial raise in Q1 of 2024.
Very cool. Prior to getting into this, roughly 11 years ago, kind of what was your background leading up into it? Was this always kind of the destination for you, or was there other things kind of in the background
Yeah. How long do we
officially
have
starting
here?
the business?
We actually started, my wife and I co-founded the company together. So we're one of the few, you know, um, husband wife founders that are actually scaling a business. It doesn't happen too often. But we started 11 years ago or 12 years ago as tequila brokers. So we got into tequila brokering. We helped tequila be very successful in the Austin, Texas market. While we were doing that, we saw a need for educated, passionate brand ambassadoring behind the barrels, like at liquor stores.
Hmm.
So we started putting a program together that included a learning management system to educate brand ambassadors so that when they go out and they go to a liquor store or a grocery store, they tell you about a beer, wine, or liquor. They're pouring that drink and they're telling you a story. And that way you're engaged and you actually want to take that product home in your mind, your heart, and your hand to share it with your friends and family.
That is so cool. Um, as we kind of get into the conversation, I always like to ask a couple questions around the roles that you play in the business, and especially over an
Mm,
11-year period. I'm sure that has shifted a little bit, especially
a
in the
lot.
last three as things continue to scale and grow. But let's just start with today. How many different hats do you get to wear in the business?
Yeah.
We'll say get to at this point, but how many different hats do you get to wear in the business today?
Well, let's start from the beginning. At the beginning, it was just me. I did all the brand activation myself. Like I said before, we're bootstrapping. I drove for Uber and Lyft to make ends meet. My wife went to go work at a liquor store. Brought us a lot of our initial first clients. Started with one employee, then two, then three. Today I sit at 17 employees, and now I get to wear solely the CEO hat. I'm very fortunate that we built the business in such a way that I get to concentrate on what I need to do, which is to preserve the culture of the company and right now grow it and scale it to where we can have a meaningful exit within 3 to 5 years.
Nice. So I'm curious for you, as this kind of transition happened over the number of years, what were some of the roles or the hats that you were most
Sure.
excited to hand off first?
Oh yeah, that's easy. My first hire, right? So, um, in this particular business, and I don't want to get too much in the nitty gritty, but we have to find source brand ambassadors. We have to educate them. We have to make sure that they show up on time. Then we have to grade their reports, make sure that the data that they're supplying to our suppliers at the end of these 3 hour brand activations, a tasting, if you will, um, has all the right information that's being. So I had to do all those hats. My very first hire was somebody to help me manage the books, right? Like help me pay because we pay our dragons weekly. We've been doing this for 11 years. We pay these brand ambassadors, these contractors weekly, and we're up to 5,000 now in 6 states. And so the first order of business is please pay these dragons and then read these reports and read them, dot the I's, cross the T's. So that was the very first hire. Um, you know, I've literally worn every hat. I'm actually proud of that because I get a little bit jaded when I talk to other CEOs who've raised really quickly, and they don't know the kind of pain that they may be putting their employees through. I know intimately, and I was able to tell them, I'm going to hire you for this role. By the way, the stuff I hate about it, But this is the stuff I love about it. So if you're okay with the stuff that I hate about it, you're good at that, then let's go. And it's worked out pretty well. We have a pretty solid culture because we are a company that's completely remote. We've been remote for the 11 years that we've done this. So now my 17 employees are not just in Texas. I have one in Colorado. I have one in Louisiana, one in North Carolina. So it's worked out well with the culture that we've built.
I love that. And I do. I think that there is definitely a tremendous amount of value in being, the leader of the organization and kind of knowing each of those hats and what each team member may be experiencing in the roles and kind of have gone through some of that experience. Um, so when you look at some of the roles that you've had outside of the CEO role today, um, what's been your favorite, job or kind of role within the company over that time period?
Yeah, and I think you'd asked that earlier too about what role was hardest to give away, and that was sales. You know,
Mm,
I've been the face of my company for a long time. Because we built so slowly and so holistically, reputation was very important to me. So I made sure that we did what we say we're going to do and overachieve on the expectations that we set, right? Under promise and over deliver. Um, I finally relinquished the sales role in 2018. That that particular individual who worked with us at that time definitely took us from A to B. This year, we've actually transitioned to another more senior gentleman who's now running it, who's going to take us from what I would call B to C. But I still do the sales role. I still go to the trade shows, and I still make sure that everybody knows that if they need something, they can get a hold of me. But your account manager's got it for the most part, and so I believe that whatever roles the founder picks, and I think most founders will pick sales. We have It's good to stay a little bit close to the business, right?
mm.
Like my first career was working for Dell. Now I always wonder how Michael Dell did it. When I got there in 1999, I was employee number 26147. How did he stay close to the business? And I remember being 3 months on the phones selling computers, where Michael Dell walked in one day, got on the phone, started answering calls, and we were all
Mhm.
crowded around him, just like in awe. I think those kind of moments are important to stay in touch. At some point, I will relinquish that role completely as well, but it's something that's still kind of there. Even though I'm the CEO of the company, I still want to go and still participate in sales.
I like that. So tell me about, so you mentioned being in business for, 11 years and really starting to kind of scale in the last 3.
Yeah.
What was that pivot point that allowed you to kind of start looking at scale? What does that look like for the business today versus what it had been doing the number of years previously?
Yeah. In 2017, 2018, I had an epiphany. Like, we'd been growing as a mom and pop, and I was getting by on half of what I used to make at Dell. Um, but we had our first child, Lurk. When Lurk was born, I thought, man, I got to go bigger. I got to go home. I got to do something different. I got to do something radical. I did have an asset, a home that I had bought that I held on to through all the years. I used it to collateralize. I got an SBA loan, and I hired a guy to come and build a software dream that I had. The Dragon Engagement Network that we call it today, which was the software system that would manage all these brand ambassadors and automate a lot of the tasks that we need to do on a daily basis. And so that was kind of the beginning of it. From 20 to 21 to 22, uh, we actually grew at 105% CAGR, which means compounded annual growth. And that put me on the Aggie 100 as the number 15 fastest Aggie owned business in America. So we just got that award a couple of weeks ago, and I just found out that would have put me on the Fortune 5,000 as well if I would have actually applied for it. But
Wow.
now we are really starting to see true scale, basically doubling our business every year is what 100% CAGR is, and we're trying to stay on that trajectory by raising some capital because we've done it on very little capital so far.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on the growth, on kind of where things are headed and what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
That's absolutely amazing. So let's take a moment and kind of talk a little bit more about the business itself. And I always like to, ask the general question of like, who does your business serve? Who's your ideal customer? And I always like to frame it up this way for the audience to kind of make it super clear cut for those that are watching this later on. If I'm in the audience and I'm watching this later, how would I know that I'm a good fit to work with y'all, or I might know somebody that I can refer over to you to have an initial conversation?
Yeah, great question. So we really serve two different audiences. On this side, I have my brand ambassadors, the lifeblood of the company that I need to make sure I keep happy by uh, being as little arduous as possible, letting them get into the system and get the jobs that they need to do, the gig work that they need to do, and paying them very, very well and paying them quickly. But on this side, I've got the clients who pay our bills, who are beer, wine, and liquor clients for the most part, although we can also do CPG drinks as well.
Hmm.
But we've got over 50 clients that are range all the way from a small budding beer, wine, and liquor, all the way to big clients like we represent 50 Cents, Branson Cognac, as well as we've done a lot of activation work for Boston Beer Company, which is $1 billion company that sells the Truly line. So my system that I'm trying to build will be able to self-serve every small business in America, so that every small business that is like, man, I just got into HEB, or I just got into my local grocery chain or my local liquor chain, and I only need 3 activations a month. It's all I can afford. Well, with our system, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to go in there and put the activations in yourself, upload your education materials, find the dragons, source your dragons. The system will pay the dragons for you. You'll pay a small fee in return to do that. So that's ultimately what we're building towards. So my audience is basically any beer, wine, liquor, or drink brand that wants us to go out and pour their drinks and tell their stories. And on the other side, anybody who wants great part-time work and wants to make about $30 an hour for a 3 hour activation, work when you want, get to take home a little liquor, a little wine at the end of your shifts every time you do this. We're looking for those folks too. So we serve both audiences.
That is fantastic. And is what makes you unique? Do you have a lot of competition in your market, or kind of what does that
Yeah.
look like? And how do you stand out and um, be unique or different in the marketplace? Or why do your customers choose
Yeah.
you?
Going back to the original story where, we started out as tequila brokers. One thing I found 11 years ago, 12 years ago when we were doing this was that there was a lot of brand ambassadors behind these barrels. They were getting paid pretty good money, but they didn't know anything about the product, right? And they usually were attractive young ladies. And I wanted to stop that. I wanted, our personal why statement in our company is that we give everybody a chance to succeed. And so we started hiring people who are green, brown, and yellow, big, fat, and small, you know, and uh, any age, and saying, listen, if you can go out and you want to actually learn about these brands and you want to evangelize these brands, you want to talk about them, there's a place for you here at Higher Dragons. And so that's how we differentiate ourselves. So there's a lot of competition. Every model that has a good business plan will start her own firm and capture those first couple of customers, and they normally they they'll get the job done. But if a company really wants a professional force to go out there and be the face of their brand as a third party company, we're the best choice. And so, that's what we're trying to grow and aspire to be. And until we become more national, we only serve about 6 states right now. We need to serve more. We get mostly regional players that want to work with us, but hopefully in the future we'll be working with bigger national firms as we continue to grow.
That's excellent. That's a perfect segue into the topic of marketing. I love talking or asking some questions around marketing. It's an area that for I don't know, many businesses out there, especially if they're newer, or maybe they're the mom and pops out there. Marketing doesn't always come naturally. So, asking some questions about it, finding out, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what's been some philosophies, that sort of thing has always been kind of beneficial. So with that, I'm curious, what's your philosophy to marketing today? And has it changed as you've kind of gone through into this scale side of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the name of the company for the most part was Dragon Spirits Marketing Promotion. And we chose dragons because we wanted to show that we were different. That we weren't, a perfect model agency or, profile model agency or something like that. We wanted to show we were dragons, roar, right? Um, Now, what would happen is 95% of my business was spirit companies. And I talked to a beer client, a beer prospect or something out in a trade show, and they're like, "Oh, you're Dragon Spirits Market? Oh man, too bad you guys don't do beer." No, no, we do beer. Like I could do a 3 minute activation for anything, man. I mean, I can sell knives. But that was something that was kind of holding us back. So we changed the name to Higher Dragons instead, and that we pour drinks and tell stories to show that we represent all the different types of clients out there. So that was one major marketing piece that we had to do um, for the client side. On the Dragon side, last year in 2022, we decided we're going to just do this shotgun approach. Hey, client, if you needed us in the state, you let us know. We're going to go find those dragons. And what had happened was we started spreading ourselves out way too thin, right? So
Mm.
we were doing just a little bit of work in, Cincinnati and a little bit of work in Seattle, Washington, and and it just wasn't aligning with the resources that we had, especially because the company is mostly bootstrapped. I did raise a round from WeFunder. I did a crowdfunding for 377K last year, but that was just a little bit of seed money to kind of get us to the next spot. So we decided, man, nope, we need to concentrate in these 6 states that we know are really good. They're all in southern states, and they regionally they align up with our clients. Usually, if I meet the client of a whiskey company, they're like, "Oh, I've got Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana." I'm like, "Great, we serve all three of those states." So, we kind of aligned our marketing that way, both from a client and a dragon perspective, so that we could, like I said earlier, make sure that we're overachieving on performance against the expectations that we set.
I heard you mention trade shows. What other like marketing channels have you found to
Yes.
be the most effective? Networking, trade
Yeah.
shows, website related stuff, digital marketing. Kind of what's been kind of the bread and butter for y'all?
Well, if you want to grow ultra slow the way I have, then listen to exactly what I'm going to tell you next. We've done the majority of our meeting and greeting of prospects through trade shows. And we would just go to the trade show. Like here in Texas, there's one for the package stores, which liquor stores, what we call a liquor store, and technical terms call them a package store. So we'd go to that trade show, and every brand wants to be there because the liquor owners are walking around and talking to these folks. Well, that sounds good. So we would just go to the trade show, not get a booth, and we just walk around and talk to all these brands about what we did and how we do it, right? And that's been really effective for us. But as we continue to grow and scale, we're trying to find more innovative ways. We've got a pretty good social presence going on. That's actually run by my wife, who's our VP of marketing. But it's expensive to market through just primarily social channels, and you don't get a lot out of it. So I really think there has to be a mixed approach of how you market. We've not played with traditional media, newspaper or billboards or anything of that nature, but we just try to make sure that when when we go to these trade shows or these events, that the kind of clients that we want are there, and we're there to shake their hands. For the most part, that just happens to be where people are drinking liquor, right? So I was at the Kentucky Bourbon Fest last month in Kentucky. That was a blast for 5 days. I sat around and I drank bourbon with a whole bunch of prospects that I wanted, and so my job does not suck. But that's basically what we do and how we go and find our prospective clients, and
I
and word
love
of
it.
mouth now too.
I love that. Yeah, that definitely does not sound like it sucks.
No, it doesn't suck, man. I mean,
Oh,
most of
that's
my friends
awesome.
think I just drink for a living. I'm like, no, I talk to people as well. That's basically what I do.
That's fantastic. So I gotta ask you, over the course of 11 years, I would have to guess that there's been a number of times where you've had some, very high highs, maybe some low lows, and there's kind of been some hurdles that you've had to overcome along the way. I'm curious if there's, maybe one instance or one roadblock or hurdle that you've had to overcome that kind of pops into your head, that's allowed you to become the business that you are today or the business leader that you are today. Is there any moment that kind of stands out to you that you'd be willing to share with us?
Well, I think there's been a lot of those moments, and I think I have a lot of those moments to come. You know, one of my bucket list items was I'm going to conquer the SBA loan process, and that was an arduous process, and we got it done. Um, I'm going to raise some money, and I did. I raised money through WeFunder, and that was an arduous process. Now, the next milestone for me is, can I raise from professional angels or VCs?
Hmm.
Can I, demonstrate my business plan in such a way, in my plan to scale, that we're an investable business so that we can really grow and grow quickly. Um, I think that's going to be the major next milestone for me. The one thing that changed my business is going to be that. Everything, all those other things have changed my business as well. But there's been times that, I've been curled up crying on the floor. I don't want to do this anymore. Um, I've had many of those moments, especially during the bootstrapping years. You know, almost uh, almost having a panic attack. Um, you know, that there's 1,000 examples like that, but I think persistence wins. I even had one of my mentors one time tell me, it's okay to just close it down and do something else. So, persistence wins. Um, and we've been persistent. And then it was just a matter of, how do I match the correct ambition to what we're trying to achieve?
Hmm.
That's always been the biggest question for me. How do I get the ambition embedded in me to go out and really grow this thing? And that was my child being born. Hey man, I gotta go big or I gotta go home. So, having my two sons was instrumental in that. But I will say this too, like the kind of work that you do coaching. um, I was a member of EO Accelerator for 4 years, and it
Hmm.
was a tremendous help in the bootstrap years. It basically, I was doubling my business in the bootstrap years, but I was going from 150,000 revenue to 300,000 revenue, right? Um, and that was from really high quality executive coaching.
Hmm.
So, and there's definitely a time when, in every entrepreneur's journey, they have to either find a network to do that, or they have to read some books, or they need to find some mentors. And really, you know, EO Accelerator was a big part of that growth in the early years for me. Um, that helped me kind of see some things that I needed to see.
That is fantastic. I love that you bring that up too, and that's such a great program. I've had an opportunity to kind of be around that particular group in the recent year or so. But you're right, having the mentors, having coaches, having a community group, having something that kind of can connect with you and help you see those things is powerful. Like full transparency, we're a coaching company and we've got a coach that coaches us, and we would not
Right.
be successful without it. Like, it's fantastic. So it's that I'm very cool
That's
that
wonderful to hear, actually. That's really cool.
yeah. So, all right. I got to ask now. So you mentioned, I always like to ask, what's upcoming the next 3 to 5 years, and I heard you say at the beginning that what 3 to 5 years out, you're looking at a successful exit of the business and things like that. So, what does the business look like in 3 to 5 years? If it's getting to the point of an exit, what's the business look like when it's finished? Kind of what's your vision for this as you move forward in the next handful of years?
Well, I think the gig economy is well upon us now. I think when you look at the younger generations, they're going to want a lot more flexibility in their work life balance than I did as a generation X, and you as a generation Y, I'm guessing. Um, we want to be a full-fledged part of that. If you can go and drive for Uber or Lyft like I did and make $20 an hour and put wear and tear in your car, and it's a fine job. It doesn't require a lot of skill. It just requires somebody who's got a driver's license who can go out and do it. But if you have personality and you can evangelize and you want to meet people, you can make $30 an hour doing this. So we're thinking we're going to be a part of that greater gig economy. I'm predicting that there's going to be a company that's going to come up, it's going to acquire us. It's going to be, hey, not only can you drive and deliver people and food and goods with us, but you can go and pick up this gig work, or you can do research studies, or you can do this, or you can do that. We've got a plethora of gig jobs for you. Stay in our one platform and get all your gig work done here, right? And so I really think that that we're going to be an acquisition strategy for something like that. I've already seen Uber and Lyft uh, kind of put their fingers in other places. They at one point they were hiring security guards and other things like that. So we think a meaningful exit for us from 3 to 5 years from now is going to be somewhere around a $100 million valuation. We believe we can get there. We'll have to improve our CAGR much more than 100% in order to do that. But we truly believe that, you know, this company will either be a great acquisition target for a professional services company that just likes the income that's generating, or as a part of a bigger plan of a master gig economy company that is offering a plethora of jobs to gig workers.
That's really cool. I like the. I mean, that's a very cool vision for the future and kind of where
You
things are
heard it here
headed.
first.
Yeah, I did. This is the first I've kind of heard of that thought, but I can totally align with it. That is amazing. So very cool. Well, as we begin to wrap up, I do want to be respectful of the time that we have here today.
Sure.
I've got a few rapid fire questions. I always like to just kind of pull out some additional wisdom nuggets for the audience here. So we'll start with the first one. When you look at your journey so far, what would you say for you has been your key to success?
Persistence, tenacity, and uncompromising in my in the way that we treat people and deliver upon our expectations.
Love that. How about advice you would give to other business owners or entrepreneurs? If you could only give one piece of advice, what would you give them?
One piece of advice:
Just one for today.
follow your passion. Don't do it for the money.
How about book recommendations? Any books that come to mind that you'd recommend to the audience, or a book that you're either currently reading or have read most recently that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, right now I'm rereading Good to Great. Um, you know, that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish right now. Um, Gosh, there's just so many. But you said rapid fire, so I'll just say start with Good to Great. That's a good start.
That is a really good recommendation. I don't know if that one's come up in any of my conversations yet, so that's a good one to add back to the list.
Excellent.
Um, the last rapid fire question I have, and this one's just kind of fun. If you could choose just one area in your business, and that's the key, you only get to choose one. So one area in the business where you can take a little bit of magic dust and sprinkle it all over that one spot, and it'll be 10 times better tomorrow. Where would you choose to put that magic dust today?
In our software solution that guides everything we do. Because even though it's fantastic, it could do so much more, especially with the integration of AI. So that's my magic dust on our software.
I love it. For those that are in the audience that want to learn a little bit more, that want to connect with you, that want to continue to see the amazing growth that we know you're going to have over the next couple of years, where can we advise them to go for more information or to make some connections here?
Sure, you can find us at either one of our websites, which is hiredragons.com or beadragon.com. That's BEA dragon.com. And then my LinkedIn profile is where I'll, usually connect with aspiring entrepreneurs. I do mentor and advise on a couple of businesses myself right now. My dream is to eventually become an angel investor myself to help the difficulty that I'm experiencing now. So, yeah,
Excellent. Well, I will be sure to put both of those website links in the video description below. So as soon as we wrap up here, make sure you go click the links, check it all out. And of course, go onto LinkedIn, connect with Lamar, send him a message. Actually, send a message on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, saw you on the business spotlight. Great
yeah,
conversation." These connections are so powerful. And that's what I absolutely love about the spotlight series, because it is here local to our Central Texas market. So make sure you take the time, go click the link, go check out LinkedIn and send a message here. But Lamar, as we finish off, I always like to end on one just very specific question. That's simply, what is most inspiring to you today?
what is most inspiring? That we're living our why. We, uh, the why by Simon Sinek is another great book that I just read. Right.
Mm,
So we went back and we redefined our why. And my wife's actually the one who wordsmithed it quite perfectly. But basically, is that we give everybody an opportunity to succeed, and I get to live that every day with the 3 or 4 people on my executive staff right now started with us as dragons. They were part-time workers, and they became a part. They came from contract to part-time work, from part-time work to full-time work to executive staff, and that's been a lot of fun to kind of do that, to give people a chance to succeed and realize their dream. And I hope I can continue to do that as we build our business.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Lamar, I want to say thank you again for taking the time. It's been a genuine pleasure to chat with you, learn a little bit more about your history, your story, the journey that y'all have been on. Truly, thank you so much for taking the time of being here.
Tanner, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.